Hello, class, the receiving students and teachers. Hello, Miss Vargas. Thank you. You may be seated. We are still on the same strand class, the students in the receiving schools as well as your teachers, and the sub-strand. Our learning outcome is still the same, 7.2.1. And our unit is still on structure and functions of living things. Now we have a recap question. This is recapping the lesson we had, the previous lesson on first. Why do animals have first? Receiving students, please, I'd like you to give your answers to your teachers. And if I can have Clement to give us the answer for that question. Clement? Mike?
To keep them warm.
To keep them warm, very good. Basically, it keeps them warm. We have clothes that keep us warm. Animals, they have furs, feathers, and others that keep them warm. Now, you were also given homework, class and the receiving students. And I hope you came up with some answers to that homework. Now, our homework was for you to think about what will happen to sheep first when they are removed from the body or from their bodies. What do you think will happen? Receiving students, please, you give your answers to your teachers, and if I can have someone from the class. Shannon?
They will make coats and clothes.
Okay, good. Shannon says he thinks that sheep first are made into clothes and furs. Now, what about receiving students? I hope you have given your answers to your teachers. Any more from the class? Okay, let's see what I have. These are some products that are made from sheep fur. We have the fur there and some products or some things that are made from sheep fur. We are looking at first, so we look at the picture on top, this one here. Like Shannon has said, sheep furs are made into clothes, different types of clothes. Now, what do you think, class and receiving students, what do you think these clothes that are made from sheep fur help people like you and I with? How do they help us? How do these clothes that are made from sheep fur help us? Bagley? Mike?
First, keep sheep warm, and also people make use sheep first to make people warm.
Very good, thank you. So the sheep fur helps to keep the sheep, the animal, warm, and when we use it to make clothes out of it, we are basically making those clothes to keep ourselves warm too. Thank you. Now, I have a picture, have pictures there for us to have a look at. I'd like you, receiving students in the class, look at a picture quickly, like we have done in the previous lesson. There are 3 pictures we have. I'd like you to compare those pictures quickly. Please, you can discuss quickly in your group and come up with a response or say one comparison of the pictures that we have on the screen. Receiving students, please, you do that within your groups, and we'll have the class to do the same. Now let's see who can give us one you have. Anybody from the class? Agnes? Okay, Daisy is from the same group with Agnes and others, so Daisy would like to help. Policiela. What the group has discussed, she will give us. Agnes would like to give that opportunity for Policiela to share with us. Thank you.
The parrot has feathers, and it's in different colors, and the cuscus has fur, and the shells are exoskeleton, as they don't have bones, but they use other shells.
Very good, thank you, good. And there may be others that you have. Now, I'd like class and the receiving students for us to have a look at what I have on my table. We have, there are some things on my table I have. And receiving students, please you tell your teacher, and I'll have Samuel to tell us. Samuel, what can you see on the table? All of them, they come under a word that describes all of them.
Seashell.
Good, seashells. Thank you. Now, seashells, basically our students up in the highlands, as well as those in inland areas who don't live close to the sea. I was not able to get shells from the highlands or shells that live in the bush. And so what I have is shells from the coast, but I know you have a lot of shells that you actually get them probably for food and other things. Now, I have live one. Let's see, I have two of them. Okay, what do we call this? Anybody from the coast who can tell us what you call this? Receiving students, you tell your teacher. Laylin?
Mud crabs.
Very good, they are mud crabs. Now there are different types of crabs, but apart from that, what I have with me are mud crabs. Unfortunately, I can't untie the rope because I don't want them to. The claws are very sharp, and that is why I can't untie them. But students from the coast, you all have seen mud crabs. Students from inland and from the highlands, if you haven't seen a live mud crab, but you have seen pictures of it, I have with me live ones, two of them. Thank you. Now, that introduces us to our topic, shells. Shells, why wear them? Who wears shells? Who wears shells? Receiving students, please tell your teacher. Who wears shells? John?
Why wear
Shells?
Why wear them? Because to protect them.
Okay, good. Okay, John is giving me an answer that doesn't, thank you, John, for trying, but you're not answering my question. Cullen? Who wears shells? Who's wearing shells?
Exoskeleton.
Good. Cullen? Daisy? Receiving students, I hope you've given the correct answer to your teacher.
Invertebrate sea animals.
Very good. Okay, so we say animals who have soft bodies wear shells. Later on, we will find out also that we also wear shells too, but not like the animals do. Now, definition. Shells are hard outer covering of animals with soft bodies and no backbones. Get a copy quickly. We have pictures showing us the snails. So our students who live inland away from the sea or the coast as well as the highlands, you have what we have there on the screen, snails and other animals that wear shells. Now, class and receiving students, animals with shells can be classed into 3 groups. They can be classed into 3 groups. The first group we have is the mollusk. Animals with very soft bodies and no backbones that usually have very hard shells. Here we have examples. These are shells, not actually shellfish, but shells. These are shells, they are mollusk shells. They actually had shellfish in them, but probably they have been eaten or they died, and we only have the shells. So this group that we have here, a group of mollusk shells, very hard shells. Now the next group we have is the crustaceans. Crustaceans, animals that have shells, the shells are not very, very hard, like mollusks. Example, we have crabs. I've already shown you live crabs, and these crabs, as well as others like crayfish, they are prawns. Those are crustaceans that have shells which are not as hard as mollusks. Now, the next group we have, we just class them as other animals. These are animals which are not mollusks or crustaceans but have shells. And on the screen we have examples of other animals which have shells, which are not crustaceans and mollusks, and they are like turtle. Students who live in the highlands and inland. Tortoise is another like turtle, and beetle and others. Now, we also have other animals that have their young in shells. So we have an example, eggs from chicken and crocodile. Now, activity. Now, for this activity, teachers, I've already put the students into groups. They're in their regional groups. But when we come to the third question, which is part of this activity, students need to work in their own areas, which I decided to have them to work in regional groups. Now, I want the class and the students in the receiving schools to take note of what the activity, what you are going to do as we go through. First one, you are to name some animals with shells as their coverings. And second, you are to write 2 reasons why these animals have shells as their covering. Now, third one, that is part of the activity why I put you into regional groups. You are to write 4 ways how shells are used in your area. And if you're able to draw pictures, you can. But if you can't, don't bother. Now, I have 2 examples there on the screen, how ways shells are used. Example 1, we say shells are used to decorate homes and used as conch shell to bring people from far for gatherings, for meetings, probably for feasting and all that. I also have example of here, ways shells are used as decoration for the body. This is used as earring. Okay, this is from mollusk shells. I also have shells on myself too. This is mollusk shell necklace. I also have it on my ear. This is from other shells, turtle shell for earrings. So those are ways shells are used. But you also have in your own areas other ways shells are used. And that is what students in a receiving class as well as the class you will be discussing together and write down 4 ways how shells are used in your area. Please, I'd like you to start now. Only 4 ways you discuss quickly and have it written. If you are able to come up with 2, I will accept that when time permits. Receiving students, I said 4, but if you're not able to have 4, you can come up with 2. 1 is not good enough, but if you come up with 2, I hope your teachers will accept what you come up with. So when you, that's another way you use it. So who brought this one? Trisha. So what do you use it for? Like that example I showed is for earrings, but what's this one? So there's another way, so you can one of the ways, okay? On that, you have to have it discussed and have it written on the paper. Okay, like I said, you cannot come up with 4, 2 is enough. And who's going to present? So when you are doing your presentation, you can say, you can hold the shell and say, one of the ways we use our shells is like this shell, we use it for, and then you can. Okay, Maria says, your group, Maria says you also use shell for money. Is that correct? Okay. So what, you use it to, what do you do? You use it for paying? Okay. Yeah, okay. Or like Donna said, you use it for paying right price, exchange. Okay. That's another. You already have 2, so have it written quickly. Good. Did you come up with some ways of how you people from the southern region use shells? Okay, you have a paper there, so when you are discussing about it, somebody should be writing it. Thank you, please. I said 4, but you can come up with 2. Everybody should contribute. You see, you are all from different parts of southern region. So if you're from Milne Bay, what do you use shells? If you're from Gulf, you share that one and have it written. Okay, where's our first one now? You are all from Highlands, but different parts of Highlands. So like Simbu, maybe you use shells for something else that Southern Highlanders don't use. So if you are from Simbu, if you are from whatever part of Highlands region, you share that one together, and then you can come up with your 4 ways. But like I said, if you cannot come up with 4 ways, as long as you have 2. Please do that. Okay, I want you to discuss about it because that would be interesting. Okay. Who is present? You have to have your ways written on the paper there. Okay, while you are writing there, somebody should be writing it here on the paper. And who is going to be presenting? Who is going to present? Okay, you were told to bring shells. Did you bring your shells? Good. So you are going to use your shell you have. So when you are presenting, so when you are presenting, you have to talk about when your friends are coming around, you say, okay, one of the ways we use our shell, this is a thinner shell, we use it for this. Okay? You do that. Okay, just 2 ways, because we don't have enough time, only 2 ways. Boys, but you have excuse. You can't leave it and go here. Okay, did you bring the shells you were asked to bring? You were asked to bring some shells. Did you bring them? You're supposed to bring shells, so when you are doing your presentation, you use that shell too. But if you did not, then it's okay. You will try your very best to do your one. Okay, thank you. We should have all had, like I said, if you can't have 4, I will accept 2. And receiving teachers will also do the same with their own classes. Now, presentation. Teachers in the receiving schools, for presentation, we will be using the strategy called BAZA. And in this strategy, from each group, that reporter remains in the group, and the students are going to move around. When they come to each group, the reporter reports to them on what they are going to be, what they have discussed about in their groups. Now, class, this is what we are going to do. Teachers in the receiving schools, this is how the class is going to move. We have Southern region, there are many of them, so there are 2 groups. So we have group 1 and group 2. That's group 1, group 2. We have Highlands region, many of them, so we have 2 groups. That's group 1 and this is group 2. Then we have Islands region and Momase. Now, class, that is how you are going to move, and I'd like every one of you to take note of how you are going to move. Okay? You move around that way. When you come to your group, you sit down and don't move around. Now, let's see the reporters. I'd like the reporters to raise their hands so I know who is the reporter for each group. Okay? I'd like to have the reporters to have your hands up so I know who is reporting. Please have your hands raised. Reporter from group 1, Southern region, who is reporting? Okay, we have Angie, Donald, thank you. Isaac, Michaeline, Florence, and Highlands Region 2, Group 2, Island. Okay, thanks very much. So those are going to be our reporters. Now, when you move, you are not going to move with anything. You are not carrying your books or whatever with you. You only move your body only from group to group. Okay, thank you. We are going to start now. I'm waiting. You only listen for the word move. Okay? Don't move yourself. When you hear the word move, you move. Okay, we are going to start now. Move to the first group. Okay. Reporters, you should start reporting now.
Okay. In Southern region, we use Kina shells for money. Example, when islands people get married to Southern region, coastal people, they'll bring their animals or pigs or wallaby and we'll bring shells, we'll exchange them. So we use them as money. And clamshell I used to make limes also. We used to chew bitunat. The lime is made out of clamshell, and little shells are used for decorations also. That's all we got from our region.
Okay, good. Move.
In Momase region, conch shells are sometimes used for fetch water inside and for drinking. Conch shells are for sending message to other people and also used for decoration.
Move.
From the New Guinea Islands, we use Skinner shells for decoration. For example, necklaces.
Okay, good. Thank you. Move. Bring the mic.
In our island region, we don't have any cells, so we use a bird's egg as a transitional cells. We use it to transitional. We use it like transitional materials.
You have to face the camera. Yes, sit down.
In the islands, we don't have conch shell, but I don't know, like they.
Okay, talk again. In the Highlands region.
in the islands region, we don't have conch shell, but when we want to pay bright price, we exchange conch shell with other people.
In the central region, we use the kina shell for bright price and small shells for decorations and earrings. And mud shell is used for lime.
Good, thank you. Now, so class and the receiving students, now we know that shells are very useful, but on the other hand, we mustn't forget that when we get live shells and we want to eat the meat, or we are getting live shells for the uses that we just talked about, we are actually destroying the protection that that animal gets from that shell. The first one, shells protect the soft body tissues of animals. Please have them copied quickly into your workbooks, receiving students. Class, do the same. Now, our second summary point, shells protect animals from their predators. Those are the two basic summary points, what shells or why shells are important to animals, especially animals which have soft bodies and no backbones. While you are getting the copy, receiving students, think about what our key phrase is going to be for this lesson and class 2. Okay, receiving students, you tell your teacher what the key phrase for this lesson, what do you think the key phrase for this lesson is? And let's have Momoru. Momoru? Mike?
The use of shells.
The use of shells. Thank you. Receiving students, I hope you have given yours to your teacher. Okay, this is what I have. Why wear shells? Why wear shells? We just looked at reasons why animals wear shells, as well as us humans. We also wear shells too, as a decoration for the body, as well as there are other uses that we use shells for. Now, our next lesson is scales. Why have them? Material samples of scales, pictures of animals with scales. And with that, thank you, class, the receiving students and teachers.